deathless titans placed upon the face of the earth 3 generations of men. The first of them being men of gold. Becoming too close to gods themselves, Cronus ended their time on earth with an eternal sleep. The second generation came to be, the men of silver. Unwilling to serve the Titans and make sacrifices upon the holy altars, as all men shall do, they were condemned to dwell under the earth for all eternity. Finally, a third generation, the men of bronze, a brazen race, sprung from the ash tree. Terrible and strong are they. Join me as I tell you the tales of the men of bronze. This is Dragon's Blood. Beware Brontes. Episode 26. Gamden quickly cleaned off the chalkboard, and they began listing off all the supplies that would be needed to make the rescue successful. Mutallu and Akam soon had an extensive inventory that Gamden furiously scribbled on the board. Minkari also added several spells and potions that he believed would be perfect for this situation. Sunisret attempted many times for wine to be added to the list because he would be thirsty during the journey. Mutallu sat quietly, listening and taking in as much information as possible. The rest of the night was spent in the room discussing the details of how this extrication was to be completed. Their sup was once again brought to them so that their deliberation could continue. When everyone agreed that it was too late and that too much wine had been enjoyed by all for the meeting to make any progress, they stumbled off to their beds. The next day, Mutallu made his way to the different craftsmen and gave them explicit instructions on what he needed from them. Minkari busied himself with the preparation of the spells and potions he had listed off the night before. Gamden, Sunisret, Akam, and Mutallu were outside practicing their fighting skills. Most of their efforts were directed to hand-to-hand combat. From what Gamden had described of the cave that was in his visions, they all knew that close quarters fighting would be on the order of the day, if and when the men of silver detected Gamden's presence. Again, Mutallu paid close attention to everything and took part in the exercises. The second day, Gamden was shown all the gadgets and inventions that Mutallu had devised. In particular was a large, thick animal hide laid out before him. "Ah, yes," began Mutallu. "This is to help you get her out of the cave. She is obviously too large for you to simply carry out, so I have devised this to aid you." The hide had many strong iron buckles and clasps. "Simply lay this on the ground near to her and roll her onto it." Mutallu began to work the buckles and clasps. "Sunisret, please come lay down here so I can demonstrate how this works." "No, with your feet at this end." "Ah, yes, that's better." Once positioned properly, Mutallu continued, "Just flop this over, fasten these buckles like this, then..." Within a few seconds, Sunisret was encased in the contraption. "Then you take these ropes at the end and drag her out." Sunisret, with only his face exposed, asked with a puzzled expression, "Why don't I just go in with Gamden? I could carry her out." "Believe me," responded Gamden, "I would be happy to have you come with me, but what my visions show, these caves are small. You would simply get stuck, you big bastard. That's why I have to drag her out." Once Gamden was finished talking with Mutallu, it was time for Minkari to monopolize his time. "These, Gamden, he began, will help you if the men of silver discover you. First is the concealment spell. It is the same spell that I used when we had to hide from the army of wildmen on the road. Hold the scroll and speak the trigger word. Remember that the men of silver may still be able to sense you. No one knows the full extent of their abilities, for no one has ever come out of there alive. Finished with the scroll of concealment, Menkari rolled it up and then continued. Next is a scroll of fire summoning. Again, hold the scroll, speak the trigger word. Menkari, with his hand outstretched, palm facing the earth, demonstrated. The rune on the scroll disappeared. Speaking the trigger word again, flames leapt from the hearthstone. The spell will cast for 3 to 5 seconds, so that you can concentrate on one target or sweep several enemies with fire. The scroll used up and useless was tossed into the quickly dying fire. Gamden asked, "Why don't I use a potion before I go into the cave? It would be quicker than using scrolls." "Yes, it would be quicker, but you are still getting used to potions," answered Menkari. "And we both know how they affect you." "They make me want to vomit," answered Gamden with a grimace. After going over 3 more scrolls, Menkari said, "Now, let's go outside and spend the rest of the afternoon working on seeing through Kepri's eyes. In your vision, he is with you, so let's use him to our advantage." The third day was spent relaxing and preparing for Mutallu's birthday celebrations. The entire compound contributed to the festivities by getting the cookhouse ready, roasting several pigs, goats, and bringing up many casks of wine from the cellars. It was difficult to keep Mutallu away from the cookhouse, and an even more daunting task, keeping Sunisret away from the wine. Finally, the time came for the party. Everyone stopped what they were doing all over the compound and made their way to the party. Last to arrive was Mutallu and his father. When they entered the building, a great cheer was heard for the man of the evening. Making their way to the main table was a slow process. Handshakes, hugs, kisses, and good wishes were heaped upon him the entire way. Once they took their seats, the food was served and libation enjoyed. All of Mutallu's favorite dishes were offered him, as well as desserts. After everyone had their fill, many people in the room called for a speech. Mutallu rose to the occasion, and a hush fell over the crowd. "Ah, yes, friends new and old, let us first praise Demeter for this year's bountiful harvest." He continued with a wave of his hand to encompass the entire crowd. "Thank you for making this such a special celebration." Collecting his thoughts for a moment, he then continued, "This is the year that my son passes into manhood. Every day he makes me more proud. He has learned so much and grown to be a strong man. Soon he will choose a trade to practice." Placing a hand on his son's shoulder, he finished with a smile as he said, "And I know that he will continue to make me proud." Mutallu raised his goblet and finished his speech. To Mutallu, the best son any father could ask for. A roar of approval was heard for quite some time, followed by another call for a speech. This time by Mutallu himself. Blushing, and with a smile from ear to ear, he slowly stood up. Again a hush fell over the crowd. Mutallu shifted from one foot to the other, then began by saying, "I love my papa, and I love my life here. Papa is a smart man, and he has taught me all I know. I want to make you proud, Papa, and I want to become a carpenter." "Ah, yes, a noble profession, son. A good choice. A very good choice." Mutallu continued, "Papa, I want to go on an adventure with my new friends. I am a man now, Papa, and I want this. I want to go with them tomorrow, and then I want to go to Azerta with them." Mutallu stood up and faced his son. Taking by the shoulders, he replied, "Ah, yes, you're right, son. You are a man now. I love you, and I want to see you safe." Tears rolled down his cheeks as he continued, "I will not stop you. If Gamden will have you, you have my blessing." They both looked in Gamden's direction, who in turn looked to Akam, who gave a nod of approval. Standing up and raising his goblet, he said, "Welcome to our party. I know that you will be a valuable addition." With that, Gamden downed his drink. Everyone in the room cheered their approval, and more food and wine was served to everyone. Look for episode 27 of Dragon's Blood, Beware Brontes, on YouTube.